Veiny, green, and when held to the sun, a bit transparent. If only I could see it closer. Oh, hey guys, guess it's time for another
physics break.
So in class lately, we have been talking about optics, how to look at stuff, why it matters that we can look at stuff, all of that cool stuff. And something like my magnifying glass here is a great example of why optics matters. It allows me to see this leaf just a little bit closer, especially when held up to the sun. I can really start to make out some nice details and really see what the structure of this looks like up close, because this is a lens and it allows me to bend the light to my will. But it would be pretty nice if I could take this lens and do something else with it. If I could, for example, capture what it sees and pass it on to the rest of the world. So today what we're gonna do is make our own lenses. And in particular, we're going to make our own lenses that can go on our phone cameras so we can take pictures of the cool stuff we see using optics to our advantage. To do this, it's gonna be pretty simple. We'll need a couple of things. You guys are gonna need some kind of clear plastic. A berry container like this one would be perfect. Just something that's hard, rigid, clear. Plastic is a good idea. You're gonna need some tape or some glue. I have my unicorn tape dispenser here, but you guys are welcome to use glue or anything else that can hold two pieces of the plastic together. A hole punch, or some other way to make a hole in the plastic. You don't need one of these. You can just sort of cut a hole or use a screwdriver to get something in there, whatever you want to do, as long as you can get a hole into it. And you're gonna need some scissors. And that's it. These items are going to make us our own water drop lens. And what we're gonna be doing is using the powers of physics to make ourselves a cool magnifying phone lens. So let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so the first thing we're gonna wanna do to make our water drop lens is take our berry box and we're gonna break it apart because we want the plastic but not the whole box together. So I'm just gonna take my berry box and I'm gonna get the lid off with my scissors. Ooh, that cuts real easy, that's awesome. So now I have this, just the lid, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut two roughly square rectangular-ish pieces of plastic. Now I want one of these pieces of plastic to be roughly 1 inch in diameter and the other piece a little bit smaller. And they can be more like rectangles. You just want to make sure that they can cover your phone's cameras. Okay, so I have one piece of plastic here. I'll just go ahead and cut another one. All right, and there's my second piece of plastic. So one's a little bit bigger than the other. They can fit over each other like that. And this should be good to go. So the thing I'm gonna wanna do now is take my smaller piece of plastic and get a hole into it. I'm gonna use my hole punch, but again, as long as you can get a hole in the plastic, it doesn't really matter exactly what you use. Okay, so now that we have our two pieces of plastic cut out, one with a hole in it, it looks like that. We want to get these two things stuck together. So we want the piece with the hole to go on top of the piece without the hole. Now, you can do this in a couple of ways, and it's gonna depend on what kind of plastic you have and what kind of materials you have in your house. But our ultimate goal is to have as little air between these two pieces of plastic as possible. So then what I'm gonna do is try like a ring of hot glue, see if that works. If it doesn't work, I'll just try some really firm tape. But you want these two to have no air between them. That's our goal. So maybe some super glue, maybe some really strong tape, whatever you can do to get these two pieces of plastic stuck together really tight. That is our goal right now, and I'll see you when mine are stuck together. All right, so when everything's together, it should look something like this. So this is my two pieces of plastic joined together with enough hot glue to form a really tight seal between the two pieces of plastic. Because again, we want as little air as possible between the two pieces. Now what I'm gonna do is a little hard to show you, but I'll go ahead and talk you through it and take some pictures as we go so you guys can see in the split screen exactly what I'm doing. I'm just gonna take a little bit of water. Now I'm gonna use a spoon in a bottle of water, but you guys are welcome to like find a better way to do this if you want. I'm just going to slowly get a single drop of water onto my lens. Now you might get too much, which is fine. Just wipe away the excess. So like I got a little bit too big of a drop here, but we're just gonna kind of let some of it fall away. And what should happen, beautiful. What should happen if you've made a tight enough seal is that enough water is between sort of in the hole in the top plastic. It's in this well. And because of a process called adhesion, it's not just sitting on top of it flat. In fact, you'll notice if you look at it from an angle, and I'll try and get a picture in here, but it's a little hard to see, that there's a little sort of hump here. It's sort of convex, if you will, because the water actually drops like that. That's why if you look at water droplets on glass, for example, they have the same property where they have that sort of bump in them. And this is what's going to create our lens, because the way convex lenses work is they bend light. And in particular, so let's go ahead and we'll take a look at how this works. In particular, convex lenses cause light rays from a source, like a leaf, to bend when they hit the lens. When that goes into your eye or a camera, it then tries to figure out what the object looks like, because these rays are coming together and it's trying to think, well, what kind of an object would cause this to happen? So your eye actually tries to recreate the image as it would look if the rays were allowed to continue on. And as you can see here, what that means is that your eyes think the rays stretch further than they really do, and they create what's called a virtual image that appears bigger than the actual object. And that allows us to magnify stuff. And if you've done this right, what you should have when you're all done is a magnifying lens. What I'm gonna do now is use a couple of rubber bands to rubber band this to my phone. And you wanna make sure that our water droplet is right over our camera lens. And then I'll show you guys what it looks like when you try and take pictures with your fancy new water drop lens.
Hello, and welcome to my phone's camera. And you might be saying, Alex, what is happening with your camera? It is so blurry. Well, I promise for my phone's camera, here's my very blurry hand. And the reason it's so darn blurry is because I currently have my water drop on my lens on my camera. So this is what it should look like when your water drop lens is working, believe it or not. Now, one tip I have for you guys, my phone is currently facing straight down, like this is a mouse pad on my desk. And I would recommend that when you use your water drop lens, you always look at stuff that is directly down from your phone. It'll just keep the shape and the adhesion of your water drop in place. It's pretty hard to use this looking sort of vertically at something where you might normally take a picture. So just like you're using a microscope or something, you want to look straight down at the object. And what you'll see is a lot of blurry nothingness. Like I said, I'm looking at a mouse pad on my desk, which I know is fabric, but looks kind of like solidly blobby pink right now. But if I get really close to it, and I mean really close to it, eventually we should start to see it come into focus. Aha! My magnifying water drop lens is working. And since this is a phone camera, I can take pictures. I can even zoom in even more. It looks like a strawberry. And I can do all kinds of cool stuff just by moving my phone back and forth. So the focal length has been dramatically altered by the water drop, so you're gonna have to get really close to your stuff, but trial and error is definitely your friend here, and if you're having trouble focusing, just kind of move around a little bit. Go away, go too close, just sort of figure out where you're gonna be to really zoom in. Wow, this is so cool. And that's how you use your water drop lens. Pretty straightforward, but there is no end to the amazing cool stuff you guys can do with this super cool piece of optical trickery.
And there you have it, how to make a water drop lens for your phone with only a few household ingredients and a lot of trial and error. Here are some of my favorite images that I took with my water drop. That's it for this physics break, everyone. Have an awesome day, and I will see you next time, PhysCalc.